person who's going to be pushing the planches is not going to be good. But you need somebody who's really serious about it.
There's also, there's nothing inherently special about the board itself, the physical board. It's
Don't say that, you're on the wrong panel for that. He's kidding, guys, it's a great board,
They're amazing, I love them, but I mean, the physical board, I mean, the homemade boards in there were old cutting boards. You know, someone used to cut their bread on that thing, and now it's a Ouija board. And the modern boards, it's the cardboard made to use that is no different than the cardboard used to make Monopoly or Parcheesi or checkers. But if there's something coming through, it's probably more you're sensitive to it or you're somehow open to that. But the board itself, people are like, oh, the board is evil. It's not the board. It's a cardboard. It's a sticker. It's paint. It's a stencil. So,
With that said, has anybody on the panel had a weird experience after obtaining a used board from somebody? No, really? So all the stories we've heard from Lorraine Warren are wrong? They don't automatically open up portals?
maybe she's the portal.
That's a good point, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Is it the people that bring the fear to it that are the portal? Is it fear that brings forth what people consider to be evil? So I think it's funny that here are people that have these boards, and in some cases hundreds and hundreds of boards, and their houses haven't been pulled into the earth, right? And demons aren't crawling up through their septic tanks. So they, it must be relatively safe, right? Relatively? Bob?
Yeah, I know Rick is the same way as me. He wanted to play with fire. You know, Rick started lining the walls because he wanted to make it a portal to hell. Now me, I don't just collect boards. I mean, I've got bits and pieces from about 13 different dead people in my house, one of which is a victim of a brutal crime. I have friends who have objects that have literally killed other human beings, and they've been in my house sometimes. So you figure, if you do the math, you've got about 100 spirit communication devices, bits and pieces from dead people, countless pieces of taxidermy. If any place in the universe was going to be haunted, it would be my apartment, and it's not. I think the scariest thing in the apartment is me. So
I'd agree with that. And do we have any questions from the audience at all? Anybody have questions regarding this? Yes.
Do you know there's a
Is there a Hello Kitty Ouija board? Has that been made yet?
Is there a Hello Kitty? There's not a Hello Kitty, but you mean the pink Ouija board that was made? Oh, just a Hello Kitty. No. We haven't seen it yet, but it's hard because it probably is a cross-brand thing. So it's hard to think, but Hasbro owns this, and so they'd have to make a deal with someone else who owns Hello
Because
Kitty.
that seems like a natural fit, right? To get little girls sexually possessed. Yeah. The other one is, do you collect boards that come in other language, in other alphabets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think,
Like what other languages?
Well, I think they've crossed. We see these talking boards start here in America, but even with those early articles that went everywhere in 1886, everyone makes them. There's a form of these. In Japan, there's kakori. Every place has some form of this that the Ouija board has influenced. So, you name it. I think we've seen them. Gene, you sent me one that was just from Israel. That was in Hebrew.
They're virtually in every culture. So,
How do you guys draw the line then for collecting? And kind of let me know as each one of you go. There are so many individual and artistic pieces that are made. There are all these different languages, different takes on the board, from Egyptian to Chinese to Hebrew. At what point do you say, yeah, I gotta, this is all I'm gonna collect? I only want the ones, or do you just go for
we don't have a line.
No.
No. We collect anything and everything. Anyone disagree?
No.
Okay.
I said the line, I will not collect one that was made before, made after I was born. So
You're the youngest one on the panel.
I know.
So he has all alone in the dark.
But that's just it, because I collect in so many different other fields, I really have to start reining it in. You've only got so much space, you've only got so much money, you've only got so much time. If I started collecting all the handmade stuff, or from personal artists and whatnot, I'd be out of house at home in no time.
He's young yet. Don't pay any attention.
With that said, though, do you ever roll your eyes when they say, "Oh, we're coming out with a special supernatural edition or Ozzy Osbourne edition"? Do you ever think, "Come on"?
No, because even though I don't collect the new ones, I'm very happy to see that it's such a big part of pop culture. I did not care for the movie Ouija at all, but I'm so happy that it came out so kids can keep scaring each other at slumber parties. Like I said, I grew up with the scary stories. I don't believe any of them all now. I know it was just because I was a kid, but I'm so happy that there's going to be kids at summer camp staying up late with a flashlight going, yo, check out this game I brought, guys. It's urban legend. It's going to keep perpetuating itself. I'm very happy it's still going on.
Speaking of cultures,
I was speaking to a gentleman from Vietnam the other day, and I mentioned where I was going. I hesitated. He just kind of right away, said, he said, in Vietnam they take a part of the coffin of their loved ones and incorporate it into the board to make communication with them easier. So I didn't know if you ever heard that or.
Did he have one for sale?
No.
Did you get his card?
And we'll be bidding at $300.
But he wholeheartedly believes in it, and he said, don't do it. Don't do it in a graveyard. You bring demons about versus at home when the angels would come through. But I was, wow, I'm glad I mentioned where I was going.
Did you get his name?
I could.
No, I think that's what's so interesting about these boards. When I first started 20 years ago, I would walk into an antique store and say, do you have any Ouija boards? And it was just one or the other. It was, if you got someone who was much older, they would say, oh, Ouija board, oh, I haven't thought of that in so long. I used to play with my sister. Oh, we scared the shit out of her. And they would tell you these great stories that were so much fun. She was bothering us and we'd scare her to get away from my friends. Or you'd get someone who was, say, 20 years ago, so they'd be in their 40s, who would say, I'd never have a Ouija board in my store and get the hell out of here, and chase me out. I was going to, and Dave, you know this, you remember, when I first started talking about this, I was not welcome in the paranormal community. Just the fact that I loved Ouija boards was somehow going to infect them with some kind of evil.
But with that said, I used to host things called darkness events, and we would have 200 to 250 people show up. And usually because we had somebody from the Ghost Adventures TV show, or Paranormal State, or Ghost Hunters, and people would come for the supper, and of course they'd all, oh my God, you're gonna go Ouija board, but your room was packed.
Yeah.
For people that were so terrified and wanted nothing to do with it, they were always there.
And that's the beauty, and Gene said that there's a reputation to uphold, and so we try never to demystify the mystifying oracle. We want to know where it came from, we want to know the stories that are behind it, but something that can cause such controversy, so polarizing. I mean, it's wonderful. It's like, you mentioned Bill Clinton. It's like the Hillary Clinton and the George Bush of the political field. Some people love them, some people hate them. And that's awesome. And it inspires all those different things. And, Calvin said he loves that he still sees them in pop culture. And, I got a chance to be involved in the movie consulting it. And what was great about that, and what I told them was, I was excited because in a world where 2-year-olds can tap and swipe and you put an iPad in front of them and they just automatically know how it works, how is this board going to survive? How is this thing going that has been such a marker and so integrated in pop culture, how is it going to happen? Well, this movie took a whole new generation to the board, and so whether you like the movie, whether you thought it was teeny bopper or scary or silly, it doesn't matter, because now a whole bunch more people are looking, and since that happened, Google announced that people searching for Ouija boards was up 500%, and that the Ouija board was one of the top 5 games bought for Christmas last year, which is just crazy for something that's been around 125 years.
What the hell happened to all these boards that have been bought? Why aren't they being passed down?
Or being burned, or thrown out,
Or they're in Janet's closet.
All the people that bought them died horrible deaths.
Oh, obviously.
That's what happens.
I'm curious,
isn't it?
Gene, you unleash somebody like Bob Murch, do you ever sit back and go, holy shit, this guy's tenacious. He's stalking homeowners and kids of friends of guys that once knew a guy who wrote a letter about an article who knew somebody that was involved in Ouija. Is it ever weird to watch this guy just go to work and the amazing info he comes up with?
Bob is an amazing guy. He is responsible for all of this. And so we owe him a great debt of gratitude.
I think I heard the group though, and say without Gene, I don't know if any of us would really be here. Before I met any of these guys, I know I would stay up until 3 or 4 in the morning just soaking up Gene's website, and it really blew my mind to see how far behind I was. I gotta get that one. it never stops. You know, the amazement that we get from each other. I think we keep fueling each other's fire, pushing each other to limits, seeing what we can do with Ouija boards next. I really feel responsible for. Well, I have to thank these guys. I think they're responsible for making me push myself to the limit and educating people. And it really is. Collecting seems like it's such a materialistic thing. When you can give it back and you can see what you can do to preserve history, the smiles on people's faces like you guys, that's really thanks to Gene. That's really thanks to Bob, stuff like that. So we hope
Don't forget eBay.
Oh, eBay. eBay's a monster in its own.
Yes.
I have a question. When you find someone who's selling them at a flea market and they are freaked out with the gloves or the bags, or you pick it up, I don't pick it up, do you get a better price, do you think? Or are they just maybe pouring the oil on to kind of get the price a little higher? Or is it 6 of one, half a dozen of the other?
Well, the lady with the bags on her hands, they were cheap. The person that got the one with the bag, she wouldn't touch it. They were all like $20, $25 a piece. But there's a lot of people, as we all have seen, who said, "Oh, this is a haunted board. This is a real scary one. And I want $400 for this actually $20 board." Parker Brothers. There's a lot of people who try to pull that, but but the people who are generally scared of them, they just want them gone. So.
Looking forward. Here, we'll let you finish up.
Just one more thing on that. A while back, some of my friends sent to me through Facebook, hey, there's this thing on eBay. It supposedly was Aleister Crowley's Ouija board. Yeah, I know. As a matter of fact, I sent a message, I think, to Robert Murch, and I also sent a message to someone I know who's in the OTO, and they were like, heck no, this is not old enough, this is not this. I think you said much the same thing.
Yeah, so we're like the Ouija police of, I think, Rick, that's what you call us, right? The Ouija police. And so, we were constantly, cruising eBay. We keep and catalog most pictures of boards that come up, even if we have them. Because sometimes people take pictures off my site, Gene's site, or anyone that won them before, previous auctions, Photoshop them up a bit and put them on there. And Janet has been victim to people doing that and her, winning a board that didn't exist. And so we're really able to contact eBay, let them know that this is someone's false, it's not a real picture. That one was easy because the board they put up there was like from 1938. It was just like, and anyone who would have known who asked them to flip over the box because the date would have been right there. And so, that happens all the time. There's always someone who's going to try to take advantage of everyone, and it's our job to stop them. No, we just, what happens is you're looking through it, we laugh because we're looking at all these little minute things. Oh, look at the change here, look at the change here. But it's cool how detailed we get when that actually can stop someone from getting ripped off. Because there's someone who's going to spend a lot of money on that.
On the Crowley board, for instance, the story was just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it made no sense at all. If you just read between the lines, you know this guy was Looney Tunes. The other thing was he posted a picture of supposedly his father with Aleister Crowley. And if you look closely at the picture, you can see that the two kids were clearly siblings. So, I mean, they had all the same facial features, everything like that. So, if you just look a little bit, you can weed these people out pretty easily.
Well, that and the fact the back of the Ouija board had Garbage Pail Kid stickers all over it.
If you're willing to share, what is the most you have paid for a board?
Oh, so she passed it right over. Did you see that? Okay. The most I've ever paid for a board. Well, I'll tell you this. I'm going to dodge this bullet by telling you a different story. I will tell you.
Well, but hey, Bob, what's the most you ever paid for a board?
Yeah, the most I've ever paid that I got in trouble for doing was that electric mystifying oracle. I bought it for, at the time, unheard of price of $250. I didn't have $250 at the time. I had to put it on a credit card. And because I had never put that much on my credit card, they called home and left a message on my voicemail trying to make sure if it was okay, of which my husband got the message. And so I hadn't told them yet that I'd done this, and I don't know if I would have told them that I did it. So unfortunately, it was a very awkward. Yeah, it was a very awkward ride home on the train when he was like, "Are you crazy? $250?" You know, and now that board has gone for quite a few $1,000s. So, but look, I'm really lucky. I still collect, but because I was doing it at a time where things were so cheap and so inexpensive, I haven't paid the prices that a new collector. I mean, today I just can't imagine someone getting into it. To be honest with you, if eBay is the only way you're getting your boards, and you know, someone like Mike, who's constantly digging through houses, you know, he's going to get them at better prices and finding really rare stuff that they don't go and look on our sites to find out how rare it is, and then you know, drive up the price.
Gene, what's the most you've ever spent on a board?
So you're looking at a cheapskate, right? And when I first started collecting, I would go to flea markets and pick them up for $10, $15, $20. And then when I had all of those, I would get on the telephone. That's a black thing. It's about this big. It has a receiver, you pick it up, and a phone book, which kind of looks like a Bible, only it's got yellow pages in it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Right. You turn the pages, and under the A series are antique stores. So what I would do would be I would go down the line and I would call each one up. And when I was done with the San Francisco book, I would go to the Oakland book, and then I would go to the, Livermore book, and then the next town, and the next town. Then when I was done with California, I'd go to Nevada, and I would call them all up, and I would say, "Do you have any Ouija boards for sale?" Click. Then I would call the next one. And that's pretty much how I started my collection. After that, in the early days of eBay, I would collect them that way. And nowadays, I really don't participate if the board skyrockets. You know, if it gets above $50, $75, I'm usually out of the auction. However, we've seen these boards now sometimes go for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So,
Thank you, Janet.
$4,000, Janet, is that how much you paid? The mic's coming to you next.
No, keep moving down the line. What's the highest you've ever paid?
The highest I ever paid was $1,100 for an Oriole board, complete with the planchette.
I think 15 was my record. But yeah, I don't like spending that much. I try to get deals whenever I can, and if you kind of add them all together and do an average, I think I'm still doing pretty good. So I always think of the bigger picture, like, I still got this one under average, so I can spend a little bit more on this one.
I don't want to answer this. These guys are all dying to know, and I don't want to tell them.
Okay, give us the second highest price you've ever
Second
paid.
highest was over $1,000 for an Esperito board, which was made in Massachusetts, close to where I live, and I have a little more of a connection to that board.
No, wait. We just did.
All right, so I guess this comes up. Anyways, I'll stop just shy. So recently there was an auction up on eBay for a lot of boards, for about 150 boards, planchettes. One of the rarest collections that we knew of. And so I was able to wheel and deal and negotiate for it. And on a very short notice, Merch and I drive to Florida, pick it up, and come back with it. And it was more than what we thought it was going to be, a lot more. Closer to 200 boards, well over 50 planchettes, original boxes, all sorts of just other information. But
Sorry, how much was it?
I'm not telling you. But out of everything they've all said so far, and quadruple that, I don't know. It was a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens?
Money's not important. When money comes and goes. What are you causing trouble for? I just met you. What are you doing?
Not about the money at all.
Yeah. No, but no, I just want to say something. So this is really true. You know, I get this call from John. He's like, "I'm really interested in this collection." No way, really? Like we've never seen an entire collection to that degree go up for sale. And I think we all thought that what would happen would be the guy would never get the price that he was asking, and he would eventually break it up. And so, yeah.
How much was it?
How much was it originally?
35,000.
Okay, there we go. 35. Yeah, $35,000.
It's not even close to what I paid. Not even close.
Yeah. And
Bob, 34,000 is still pretty close.
I paid nothing for this memory. So he calls me up and he says, I really want to do it. I'm like, oh, okay, great, cool. And great. So then I get a call back and he said, if I do this, would you drive down to Florida? No, we live in Boston, right? So this is a 12-hour drive straight. 17 hours, both ways. And so he says, well, I'll call back and let you know if it's going to go. And so the night before, I get a call, and he said, I will be picking you up after work. And so this is huge exciting. Of course I'm going to do this, right? My back was hurt, and I was like, I don't care. Like, I have to witness this. I want to see this. This is like Ouija history in the making. So I get out of my work in Boston. He comes to pick me up. He picks me up in the biggest, blackest, scariest car I have ever seen in my life. It was like, I thought it was like the FBI, the CIA, tinted windows. It was huge. What kind of car was it?
It was an Escalade.
It was
They were supposed to have a minivan. I didn't want to show up looking like I had money at this thing, And it was supposed to be a minivan, but they had a recall at the rental place.
Yeah.
So they upgraded me to an Escalade, which was actually a downgrade because it had less room.
Yeah, and it was huge. And by the way, so we start driving down, and
Barely fit in an Escalade.
Yeah, it completely packed. And the Escalade, all the seats down in the back, completely packed. We had to hit the brakes a couple times. Nothing moved. Like and if we got into a car accident, there were going to be Ouija boards all over the highway. It would have made the best. Like, if I was going to die, that's how I want to die.
Bump merch decapitated by a Ouija board.
But so we're driving down, and these are the funny stories, right? Because imagine calling up another collector who wants everything you're about to buy and say, come on down with me, I want your help, and let's do this together. And so that's a huge honor, and he picks me up, and of course I'm not going to miss it. But this machine, this beast that he's driving, it's like NASA. Everything's, I've never seen anything you touch and tap, and it's beeping at us, and we're driving, and he's like, my freaking seat keeps vibrating.
I thought my phone was in my pocket or something.
Yeah, and he's like, my phone's right here. And I'm like, well, maybe the person who had it before, the phone fell underneath it, and someone's trying to call it, and we're like looking.
1,000 miles later, I find out that when you start to change lanes or go for the white light, it vibrates your seat to let you know you're going off the highway.
But on the butt cheek that you're crossing. So like when you go to the left, your
switching
left
back
butt
and
cheek
forth.
vibrates, and when you're doing, because he kept saying, it's not vibrating in the same place. I'm telling you, it's the other one.
This is a sign of your presence.
10-year-old car. How would I know these things?
No, it was hilarious. So, it's funny. So we get down there and we meet this collector who we had talked to before, and it was an amazing experience. It was one of those really cool things. And the look on John's face, it was just priceless because, he's trying to play it cool. And you could play poker with John. John could tell you something and it could be a complete, absolute crock, and you would never know it. He can do it. Now, me, on the other hand, so anyone who's seen me, my face tells the entire story. If something smells, I'm like, I can't do that. So my eyes are like, I'm literally in overload, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll try to put the planchettes in these bags while you look it up. And every time this other collector who's selling it leaves the room, John leans back and he's like, and then he'd come back and he'd be like, and the drawers were opening, and he'd be like, and it's like, no, it's just hilarious. It was a really fun time. So yeah, so by far that was the biggest find that I'd ever seen, and it was awesome. It was a great memory to share with John. So John and I got really close. I also learned all of the things John does to stay awake while he's driving, including out of nowhere, like, what are you doing? He goes, don't you do those things to stay awake? I'm like, no.
It's only when pinching yourself doesn't work.
Yeah, he's or punching himself or rolling down the windows. I'm like, I just roll down the windows. So it was really fun. Anyway.
All right, Janet, can you tell us highest price?
Well, everyone here, there's a little lineup over here, are 24 collectors. They all know. So there's no hiding. For my Nirvana board, it was a little over $4,000. It's like $4,200.
And how many of you guys kept going in and bumping it by $1 just to see if you could get her there? Look at them, they're all in. Wow, $4,000, huh?
But it was pretty funny though, because Robert, you know, at that point, I didn't know Robert or anybody here in the collectors group at the time. And Robert really, I think, wanted it. And he contacted the seller and said, well, the person won the auction, but did they pay it? So it was pretty funny.
Good
It
coverage.
should be noted that
They sure did
everyone
pay.
on this stage had a chance to buy that board for $800.
He said everybody on the stage had a chance to buy it for $800.
Was buy it.
Well, even though any of us spent that much money on an auction or whatever, that always means that there was one person directly behind us that was only $25 away from paying that price. So, you know, you gotta remember that it's not just one person paying a crazy amount of money. There's a second crazy person, at least one bid increment away from that.
Screaming going down the
You know, I do want to say something to Brandon though, you know, if somebody did want to buy it, I mean, they could have, you know, easily have bought it, but there were other people there that were on that bidding list. They were really into the game. They wanted it. So, you know, you could go ahead and, you know, downplay it and go, you know, well, anybody could have had it for $800 because that's usually the way you roll when you know, say things like that you didn't get, so. Whatever.
Oh, she's calling it out. You've been Ouija bitch slap, fool.
Mike, what are you up?
All right. Well, I guess I'm buying them correctly or something. I mean, I don't have a collection like these guys do.
But you have this Nirvana board you sold for $4,000.
You know, the really funny thing though is that if I were to put it on eBay right now, I can guarantee you it would sell for more than $4,000. Easy. Absolutely, without a chance, without a doubt in my mind.
Well, again, I don't have any collections like any of these guys Janet here. I have like 25, 35 boards, and nothing super rare. But like Bob mentioned, I'm at auctions, estate sales. I think the most I ever paid maybe $200. But most of them I'd say are under 100. I'm out a lot. I do this for a living, antiques, so I'm just, I guess, buying them. Well, again, no Nirvana boards, no Spiritos, no Orioles, no, you know, any of that stuff. But I'm happy with my collection.
Well, very good. Let's, it's 7:08. Let's thank our panelists here. Robert Birch, Delvin Crush, Mike Zone, John Kosick, Andrew Vespia, Janet Romano, and Gina Orlando. Before you head out, and this is in all seriousness, I'm getting texted like mad through this. The protesters outside are getting violent, throwing bottles, trash cans, smashing cars, a city police car. They busted up 4 police vehicles in a civilian unmarked car. They are over by the baseball field now, blocking streets. They are blocking cars, smashing windows with drivers in them. So if you do not have to go out, please don't go out and be very safe tonight, all right? So stay around. I just want to give you that. What?
I know they're close here, but are we safe here?
You know what? You should come to Jeff and I, our room. We'll make sure you're protected. Yeah, I think for right now, yeah.
Should I bring my granddaughter, my husband?
And everybody, bring your Ouija board back here at 9 o'clock for the big experiment. Where are we doing it? Here? In the bar?
We're going to be playing Ouija boards in here. There will also be a bar for spirits of another kind.
Very cool. Thank you, Bob Birch, for the 125th anniversary Ouija